This year, the 5 biggest tech companies on Earth will spend almost $750 billion on a single idea. That's not a budget, that's a bet. And here's what almost nobody knows. History has already run this exact trial. Twice. By the end of this video, you'll know which of 2 histories we are living in. And one number tells you.
The court is now in session. The defendant tonight is not a company, it is a number. Last year, Google, Amazon, Microsoft, and Meta together spent a record $410 billion building the machinery of artificial intelligence. This year, they told investors the plan, roughly $725 billion, up 77% in 1 year. Microsoft alone, $190 billion of capital spending guided for calendar 2026, a fifth of $1 trillion from one company. And they are borrowing to do it. Morgan Stanley expects AI-related debt issuance to more than double this year, to nearly $570 billion. Oracle, the company that bet hardest, just reported negative free cash flow of $23.7 billion. 2 years ago, that number was almost zero. UBS puts it plainly. Hyperscaler capital spending is approaching 100% of their operating cash flows. The 10-year average was 40%. The charge before this court, spending like the future is guaranteed. The prosecution calls its first witness a ghost. The late 1990s. The internet is new, and one belief unites everyone with money. Traffic will grow forever, and whoever owns the pipes owns the future. So they built. Ships dragged fiber optic cable across the floors of oceans. Crews cut open every street in America. Companies you have never heard of borrowed billions against traffic that existed only in forecasts. Sound familiar? It should. The pipes were the GPUs of the year 2000. Then, in 2001, an analyst at Merrill Lynch counted what had actually been switched on. Less than 9% of the fiber in the world was carrying light. 90% of everything they built sat dark. What happened next took less than 2 years. WorldCom, the giant of the industry, was caught inflating its earnings by $11 billion. It collapsed with $103.9 billion in assets, the largest bankruptcy in American history until Lehman Brothers. Its CEO went to prison for 25 years. Global Crossing had built the largest fiber network on Earth. 160,000 kilometers, 27 countries, $12.4 billion of debt. When it went under, control of that entire network sold for $250 million, 2 cents on the dollar. Somebody always ends up buying the future at 2 cents on the dollar. The question is who paid full price. In total, more than $2 trillion of market value erased. 500,000 jobs, 23 telecom bankruptcies in a single year. And here is the poison in the story. The internet was real. Traffic did explode. Everything the optimists predicted about the technology came true. The technology won. The investors were annihilated anyway. The prosecution rests. The defense stands up smiling, because the defense's witness is even older and stranger. England, 1845. The hottest technology on Earth runs on steam. Parliament authorizes 8,110 miles of new railway lines. More than 1,000 railway companies are projected. The newspapers print nothing else. At the peak, Britain pours roughly 7% of its entire economy into railway construction. In 1 year, to match that today, America would have to spend over $1 trillion. A year. They're getting close. And then, of course, it broke. The railway share index fell 66%. Of roughly £250 million invested, nearly half of Britain's GDP, Scholars estimate about 80 million was simply lost. And now the myth this court must kill. You've heard the story. It was naive money. Widows, clergymen, amateurs. The archives say otherwise. Researchers who traced the actual shareholder records found the mania was funded by experienced investors, business people, insiders, and the insiders performed no better than anyone else. It wasn't the fools who lost. It was the smart money. Remember that when someone tells you today's giants are too smart for this. But here is why the defense called this witness. Hardly any of those railways went bankrupt. Almost every line kept running. The trains carried Britain into the industrial age, and one historian argues the boom may even have helped Britain dodge the revolutions that burned through Europe in 1848. The investors lost, the country won, 2 witnesses, 2 centuries apart, and they agree on everything except the verdict.
Did you catch it? Both witnesses just agreed on something terrifying. The fiber was real, the railways were real, the technology won, both times. And the investors were destroyed, both times. So the question this court is really deciding is not, is AI real? That's the wrong question. It was always the wrong question. The real question is, when the bill for $750 billion arrives, who is holding it? And that answer is hiding in one line of one earnings call. Stay with me.
Exhibit C, April 29, 2026. Microsoft's earnings call. The chief financial officer, in her own words, roughly 2/3 of our capex was for short-lived assets, primarily GPUs and CPUs. Short-lived. Railways lasted a century. Fiber, once lit, lasts decades. The chips eating most of this money are booked to survive a handful of years. And how many years exactly? That's where the fight is. Google, Oracle, and Microsoft carry servers on their books at up to 6 years of useful life. Google's extension alone added $3 billion to reported profit. The most famous skeptic in finance disagrees. Michael Burry, the man from The Big Short, claims the real life of an AI server is 2 to 3 years, and that the giants are understating depreciation by roughly $176 billion. His words, one of the more common frauds of the modern era. He's disclosed put options against Nvidia and Palantir. The companies deny it, and the court notes, Amazon quietly shortened its server life last year. Exhibit D, inside the empire. Someone is watching the meter. In June, Meta, after its engineers burned 73.7 trillion AI tokens in 30 days, chasing an internal leaderboard literally named Claudionomics, moved to cap its own employees' AI spending. The machine builders are rationing the machine. Exhibit E, Henrico County, Virginia. 37 data centers operating, 17 more coming. In June, after a 25% electricity rate hike, the county manager emailed thousands of employees, including the schools, asking them to conserve power. Turn off the lights, close the blinds. The bill is already arriving. It's just not arriving to the companies first. And yet, the defense has one number of its own. Microsoft's AI business is already real revenue. A $37 billion annual run rate, growing 123% a year. Real customers, real money. That is something the fiber ghosts never had. But read the fine print. That figure includes everything AI runs on Azure, including OpenAI's own spending. Money that investors gave OpenAI flowing to Microsoft. Who invests in OpenAI the money, your honor, appears to move in a circle. But that is the next trial. For now, the machines get the final word. 2 artificial intelligences, themselves products of this very spending, were shown tonight's evidence and asked one question. Is 2026 the fiber bubble or the railway mania? They answered independently. They could not confer.
I think it's closer to Railway Mania. The The scale is extreme, but unlike fiber in 2000, we already see real, rapidly growing monetization. The risk is brutal value transfer. Infrastructure builders and late equity might suffer while a few platforms and chipmakers capture most of the rents, but the assets won't be mostly useless. The one number I'd watch: aggregate AI operating profit margins sector-wide, not revenue, over the next 3 to 5 years.
It is more like the Railway Mania. Unlike the dark fiber that sat useless, these GPUs are running at absolute capacity right now, fueling real double-digit software growth. The physical infrastructure isn't going anywhere and will benefit the next generation, even if today's equity investors take a massive hit first. The single number I would watch is hyperscaler free cash flow margin. If that stays deeply negative, it is the equity holders who get wiped out.
The court expected a split. It did not get one. Both machines chose the same history. The one where the railways get built, the nation gets its future, and the people who paid for it are ruined. Both machines predict the technology wins. Neither machine predicts you do. And notice what both witnesses reached for unprompted. Not revenue, margin, where the money finally comes to rest.
Here's my verdict. This court finds the technology innocent. AI is real, the demand is real, and the revenue, 37 billion at Microsoft alone, is more real than the fiber bubble ever managed. But the spending is on trial separately. And history's precedent is brutal. The technology can win while every dollar chasing it loses. So don't ask, is it a bubble? Watch 3 numbers instead. 1. Depreciation. If the giants start quietly shortening how long their chips live on the books, like Amazon already did, the earnings you see today are borrowed from tomorrow. 2. Cash flow. CapEx near 100% of operating cash means the moment belief wavers, the building stops instantly. 3. And this is the one nobody wants to answer. Who is paying whom? Because when we followed the money behind the 37 billion, it didn't flow in a line, it moved in a circle. Next week, this court follows that circle. $1, 3 companies, all of it counted as growth. The hype is on trial. Subscribe and be in the courtroom.